Thank you for being tuned in live. We are live today, so be on your best behavior. We do not have comments going onto the screen, but this is proof of live. Appreciate y'all for being here with me live. Smash that like, share the link while we are live. Got plenty to talk about today. So much going on in the crypto sphere we've got to discuss. I'll be on screen in just a second. And welcome. My name is Seth. You're watching Mind Your Biz, and we're going over a live review of all the crypto markets, including our live portfolio trackers, rather our paper trackers for the various different sides of cryptocurrency markets, including proof of work coins, proof of work on GPUs, proof of work on even hard drives and CPUs, proof of work on ASICs and FPGAs, and then also some of the proof of stake projects that are out there that people have been excited about over the last year. What's happening with them now that the market has sort of turned towards bearishness and we may be entering a crypto winter? Appreciate you being subscribed. If you're lurking, please hit that subscribe button. If you're subscribed but you don't have notifications turned on, guys, it's free. Click the bell icon. That way you'll know when we go live. I think I've got a little bit of bedhead going on along the beard. I'm missing my beard brush, my beard comb. I need to go and find it because I'm looking a little bit haggard today. Hopefully that improves things just a little bit. Let's start, without any further ado, looking at the Fear and Greed Index. Current score of 13, up from yesterday's 12. I don't know how that works, but we're definitely still in the range of extreme fear. We've been there for a while, right? Since Bitcoin started to turn down. This is one of those movements that is very clearly correlated to a change in Bitcoin's price. And it's not rocket science, guys. When people see that the price is going down, most of retail starts to panic, right? They see red candle days, and instead of seeing opportunity like you or I would, they say, I'm worried. And so the Fear and Greed Index starts to turn down, and it can occasionally get caught up to the point that it begins to run away, a bit like how we saw that death spiral with Terra Luna and the UST stablecoin. Thank goodness Bitcoin is not nearly as fragile as that system, right? It's much more anti-fragile, much more resilient, and a much better store of value over the long term. So thankfully, that's not the case there, but people tend to get kind of nervous. Let's take a look at that chart, and here we have, boop, there is our little chart, the little chopsticks that could. And we see these ranges. I've extended the green range because I still strongly believe that we have the strong prospect of going all the way down to potentially as low as 12.5, wicking down to the 10K range. I don't know. Maybe wicks can do all kinds of things, right? We could see a flash crash based on the exchange volume from large exchanges like Binance or like Coinbase Pro or others. We've seen stranger things in the past. So there's always the possibility that we could wick down to that extremely low level. But I think as far as there being real substance with real volume behind it, a substantial, body of a candle that goes all the way down to 12.5 or 14K, I think we're going to have that day in our future at some point. Sooner, later, I couldn't say when, but I think that there is another leg down, a big leg down. Maybe after a melt up. Maybe we're going to see a low volume, big green candle up. Maybe we're going to see some corrections there. But guys, it bears mentioning that I'm not trying to give anybody here financial advice. I'm not trying to tell you to time the market. I'm not telling you what you should do with your investment capital, whether it's in fiat or cryptocurrency. Just to be very, very clear. If you were curious about that, like, hey, do I tune into Mind Your Biz for financial advice? Nope. That is not what we do around here. We're going to take a look at a chart, though, because we do need to look at historical data to try to understand what Bitcoin has been doing and what the broader cryptocurrency markets have been doing. And in my mind, Bitcoin is still the biggest key indicator of the crypto market cap and its health. So we're not getting away from that, guys. I am something of a Bitcoin maximalist. You may see me talk about some of the inherent problems with Bitcoin, such as, you know, the fees only based system that we're going to be rolling into after another couple halvings, with that block reward, the block subsidy being really, really low a little after the year 2030. I mean, we do talk about problems, but Bitcoin for right now and for the near to mid-term is the strongest indicator of crypto market cap health. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. This is our chart with those green ranges moving all the way down to that 12.5 to 14K range, as I mentioned before. Yellow, we've also extended downward. I really do think that if we go back above this 35K range, you should proceed with caution. I think that breakout to the downside of that range is a strong signal for most people in cryptocurrencies. You see that support line there that it bounced off of, and we'll go back in time, how it kind of moved through that range and then back up, kind of, you know, only dipping a little bit below that support line a couple of times in this most recent bull run with those crazy returns to an all-time high. That I think that it's a strong indication to us that there is institutional support, if not retail support, because of the psychological level, right? I'm not using fancy TA tricks. I'm not going to show you bull pennants or flags or whatever else. I'm not going to try to transpose fractals from other times, but I will look at basic support and I will look at basic resistance. And then I'm going to try to take what I think the average retail person is paying attention to and map my understanding, you know, my worldview onto that. So if you can take that, if you can understand that and take it with a grain of salt, then, you know, you're obviously, you know, you're in the right place if you can handle that speed. But let's also talk about some other things that affect that fear and greed index, primarily the news, right? We do get a lot of people who react very strongly to the news cycle when it comes to cryptocurrencies. So what do we got there? Let's take a look at, first off, Finbold. We've got an article here about how Tag Heuer, they'll be accepting cryptocurrency for their online purchases. This is a first. I don't know how many other luxury brands of watch are accepting cryptocurrency natively in exchange for their fine wares. But Tag Heuer, it's one of those names that people are aware of. Party Farm is in the chat saying, sup? Appreciate you being here, guys. Thank you for sharing the link while we are live. Definitely appreciate that. It helps the YouTube algorithm to know that this is content that other people are going to want to watch. And I don't care what the view count says, we can always share more. And it does help. Guys, every click counts. Your click counts. So please do share. You'd be doing me a huge favor. We did launch that second channel, by the way, if you didn't already see that. We don't have it listed in the description of this video yet, or of this channel yet, but we will soon. It was officially launched for the first explainer, and we will be adding more to that explainer channel in the coming weeks and months. So look for that as well. We are expanding, though. We've also acquired some additional channels that may or may not be run by Mind Your Biz or have anything to do with Mind Your Biz. But this is serious to us. This is serious to me. I care about crypto education. I care about education first. And yeah, we're entertaining sometimes, really, if you're into dad jokes or whatever. Entertaining at times and the antics, whatever else. Like, if you're into that, cool. But it's an education first channel, right? Where we try to go over stuff that actually matters and some of the fundamentals that actually matter that'll help keep people from getting wrecked. I see Manzaid in the chat, bumping elbows. Appreciate that. Thank you for saying hello. But the current news cycle is showing us, I think, what are signs of still some decent health in cryptocurrency adoption and in broad utilization. I think this is a good thing for luxury brands such as Tag Heuer to accept cryptocurrencies natively, right? Not to just say that, like, okay, we think cryptocurrencies are cool, or we're going to make an NFT themed watch, or we're going to give you a watch face replacement that has like the, you know, whatever the Bitcoin logo on it, or the Ethereum logo if you're into that, or the Cardano. But for them to say, like, no, we're putting our money where our mouth is, we'll sell you our finest wares in exchange for cryptocurrency. It's pretty awesome. So they're starting with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and then, of course, stable coins, dollar pegged stable coins. They are limiting that to only 10K per transaction, which is pretty important. But they're saying that it comes as a motive. The motivation comes as the number of people who are asking, hey, can I buy a tag with some of my crypto holdings. You hear that enough times, and there's only so many times you can tell somebody, no, I don't like the color of your money, before they just walk away. Right, so cryptocurrency holders are flush with earnings. They're flush with profits and yield. Where you may have people who've been holding on to fiat currencies who, over the last year, have been seeing their buying power decrease by anywhere between 8.5% to possibly upwards of 15%, depending on which market sector we're talking about. You're seeing people already suffer from double-digit inflation, and they go over to Tag Heuer and say, "Look, I got this crypto. That good? What can I buy for that?" So this is just smart money, in my opinion. Just a smart move on Tag Heuer's their part, their business plans, I think, should continue to expand in that direction. But it looks like they're also exploring the possibility of using blockchain to release NFTs. So I don't think that's a bad idea either. The idea that you could get a digital representation of something from a brand like Tag Heuer, any kind of luxury brand like Tag Heuer or like Rolex or like any other fancy car brand, if there's a possibility of being able to sell an NFT that's either redeemable for the core product itself or gives owners of these products additional benefits, right? Access to other things. I think that is the perfect use case with luxury brands. The perfect use case to be able to sell utility on top of luxury, because you're not like, when it comes to, in my opinion, when you're using an NFT with a brand like this, you don't really get away with selling a Bored Ape. You don't really get away with selling a CryptoPunk when you already have a Tag Heuer or a Rolex or even, these other luxury brands that are like lesser known, like the Movados and others of the world. You don't really get away with selling people pictures, JPEGs of monkeys. This doesn't work, right? You already sold them a certain weight of gold or possibly of precious stones and of really finely crafted jewel movements inside of a classically created watch. Like, you don't really get away with selling them, digital garbage that's made in a generative AI program, right? I think, in my mind, you have to sell them something that's in line with their expectations of that luxury item. And in the case of a watch, that's utility, right? Like, yes, they're beautiful. Yeah, they have precious stones. Yeah, they're made with precious metals. And then the jewel movements that help to create all of the synchronization inside of the timekeeping piece itself is a combination of beauty, precious stores of value, and utility, right? So I think that when it comes to brands like this, jumping into that space, you have to sell utility in your NFTs. Full stop. You tell me what you think in the comments, though, guys. If you were to buy something along the lines of a Rolex and it came with an NFT, what would you want that NFT to do? What about a Tag Heuer? What about a Breitling? What about one of these other brands that are kind of the working man's fancy watch? Right? Like, what would you... air quotes, right? The working man's fancy watch. What would you want that to come with if you spent, a few grand on a watch? Maybe not $1 million, but maybe you spent a few grand on a watch. What kind of NFT would you expect to have bundled with that fancy watch? Tell me in the comments section, guys. And if you're watching this after we're live, say, hey, NFTs for my watch. This is what I want. I'd love to see what your thoughts are there. Cal is asking about whether or not I'm going to talk about certain networks. I need to add it to the tracker. It may already be in our FPGA tracker, so I'm going to take a look at that. The Deadwood saying, hope your days are filled with green candles. That is my one true wish for this audience as well. Thank you, The Deadwood. I appreciate that. And I think maybe I spied with my little eye The Deadwood making a comment over on our second channel. Yeah, so we'll start talking about that a little more openly as we create more content there, though. Okay, additional news, something that is worth noting that is feeding the fear and greed index is that Terra is announcing plans to fork to rescue the blockchain, and the community is set to a vote. So here's the highlight, right? This comes from Be In Crypto. Definitely appreciate their highlight, their roundup here. They're saying that Do Kwon proposes a fork of the blockchain. The preliminary vote shows 80% in favor of the proposal, though it bears mentioning that the Terra ecosystem, the Terra community, has also voted 90% in favor of Do Kwon personally stepping down. They want the new blockchain. They don't want the old leadership, right? So that's something that's, oh, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Don't be like Do Kwon. That's all I can say about that. Look, the jokes have all been said, right? On crypto Twitter and elsewhere. You can see them all on Reddit. Sucks to be this guy. Apparently, the South Korean government is potentially going to bring criminal charges after him because of the number of investors and VC and funds that have gotten wrecked in his in that territory, right, of South Korea. They don't mess around, right? Samsung and LG and some of the other brands that are fully subsidized by the South Korean government, they mean business. It would be like trying to mess with Sony or Toyota back in the 1980s. You would get destroyed financially, right? They would hunt you down and they would take you for everything that you're worth back at that time. It was cutthroat then, it's cutthroat now. So, yeah. I would not want to be in Do Kwon's shoes trying to face these angry groups of investors personally. But 80% in favor of the proposal. Binance US is saying that the fall of USD could accelerate stablecoin regulation. He's not wrong. So, yeah. And KuCoin is releasing their white paper, which shouldn't even be related, but there it is. There you have it. They say that the proposed plan to rescue the Terra blockchain involves forking a new chain without the stablecoin coin UST, as he feels the Terra ecosystem is worth more than UST. But is it really, though? Wasn't that the main value proposition? Didn't that already kind of prove to be the only real value? Wasn't that the only thing actually propping up the value of Luna, was the fact that it was meant to be a peg to a stable coin? Yeah, that kind of seems like that's the only thing it had going for it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, clearly it was built on IBC technology, some of the technology that was graciously given to the community by Cosmos Hub. So it had the interoperability of IBC, but outside of that, which they didn't innovate, they didn't make that, the Terra, right, the Terra blockchain, it didn't do that. But as an app-specific blockchain within IBC, it already inherited that from Cosmos Hub. The only thing it had going for it was the algorithmic peg to UST, right? Am I wrong? Am I reading this wrong, guys? Let me know in the comments section. Zero Cool says he already forked his investors. Oh, gritting teeth face. And Party Farm says, I heard he was going to fork it anyway. That's very likely the case. Very likely the case. It could also be that one of the problems with on-chain voting is that it's extremely easy, air quotes, extremely easy to fake community involvement. Same with Twitter polls, for example. It's extremely easy to fake community involvement on certain platforms, depending on whether or not you're really good at writing scripts or really good at provisioning wallets that can go and vote in an automated way. We've seen this problem for many, many years in the blockchain space. Unfortunately, it's hard to know, even if transactional throughput is a genuine measure, if it's being measured correctly by third-party auditing companies, because of the complexities of blockchain. And who better to be able to fake engagement on a blockchain than the people who designed it, right? Of course, right. So apparently 80% of the votes are in favor of the big fork, only 0.3% are against it. And 19.7% have replied no with a veto. Wow. So there you go. Deadline for the ballot is May 25th. They think that there's an emergency inspection, or they prompted the emergency inspection in South Korea, and this is what is prompting that potential criminal investigation, right? So it is the Financial Services Commission and the Financial Supervisory Service. They are going to submit data related to the transactions affiliated with USD and Luna. Let's see. The exchange exec familiar with this said, I think they did it to draw up measures to minimize the damage to investors in the future. I mean, sure, that makes sense, but unfortunately, this is also going to usher in an era of CBDCs where there will be zero backing, right? Like Luna, for as imperfect as it is, has actually had more backing than most fiat currencies. You couldn't just print Luna entirely out of thin air because one person decided oh yeah, I want more Luna. Or one person decided I want more UST. It did require at least some market demand for it. Whereas with other fiat currencies, all it requires is the supervisory demand to say, look, we think that the economy should work in this way. And so whether or not the market is explicitly asking for it, we think there should be more monetary supply. Let's go print another 2 trillion, 3 trillion, 5 trillion, 7 trillion. What the heck? Let's keep on going. $20 trillion worth of value. Let's just keep on going. So I mean, am I actually championing UST right now? No, I'm not. I'm just saying that fiat currencies are that much worse. It's crazy that I actually think that they require, that these cryptocurrencies require an audit, but most central banks don't. Like, really? This is the world we live in. Okay, so yeah. So in South Korea, it's pretty intense. Apparently also, both civil and criminal. He is being charged with tax evasion on his corporate taxes. If found guilty, the embattled Terra co-founder could face a penalty of up to $78 million. Let's be very, very real. Just for a second here. $78 million is a lot of money, objectively. If you or I were hit with a fine of $78 million, we would say, okay, look, even selling my body to science would not be enough. Selling my body to the internet, right? Literally, like whatever, an OnlyFans, but for crypto investors, whatever that equivalent would be. We probably couldn't make it up in a lifetime. Most of us. We're just not that interesting. We're not $78 million interesting to look at, right? As far as selling our bodies. But for guys like Do Kwon, he entered this space as a billionaire, a multi-billionaire. $78 million is not a lot. Not a lot at all. Not much. You got characters like Elon Musk in the United States paying $11 billion in taxes. He's going to be fined $78 million? It's almost like an incentive for him to get out of whatever all of these charges are and go do it again. I don't like regulation. I don't think it's particularly effective, and this is why. This is all a dog and pony show, right? This guy's going to get a slap on the wrist. Yes, there are going to be fines assessed. But people who think that there should be law and order in this way never, like they always fail to ask, okay, so what's being done with that $78 million? What's that going to do? Are you going to use it to, say, like fund the research and development of a CBDC that is not evil, that it's, is free and open source, that actually properly takes care of the people's interest? Well, what is it going towards? It's going towards administrative costs that are already couched in pork barrel spending within most governments. Like, really? Is this serious? Do we take any of this stuff seriously anymore? Because I don't. I look at that and think, all right, it's the wicked punishing the wicked. First off, number one, right? Like, okay, you guys are going to take $78.5 million to do what? To go, like, not fund social programs that work, that's for sure. Maybe fund a war that doesn't work also. We have no clue, right, where this money actually goes, like what it actually is supposed to go to. But you're going to take it from somebody who earned that money in the first place by doing evil things to people and is flush with cash, so he won't even feel it. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Really? And it's like, it's like being on a bad merry-go-round. You just go back around the corner, you're like, oh, yep, saw that like 2 seconds ago. Back around, oh, hey, never seen that before. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, so many times around, you start to feel like, okay, I'm going insane. And just get me off this crazy ride, right? Like I can't do this much longer. So yeah, this is a bit of an issue overall in the Terra community. But I've got to ask for people here in the Mind Your Biz community, were you affected by UST at all, guys? Were you affected by this implosion of Luna? Are you a stakeholder? I don't mean to be insensitive, right, to the needs of real people who are in the community. And Dig Hustle Network says Terra uses Cosmos SDKs. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, that is correct. Cosmos, IBC. Oh, wow. Okay. And thank you for helping to fill in that. There's a knowledge gap in the chat, guys. Got some people like Party Farm asking, Latrell, how was Cosmos related to Luna events? Sorry, just don't know the connection. Guys, let me, I wish I had a whiteboard. I need to start using a whiteboard or start attaching my drawing tablet to OBS to start doing some of this diagramming stuff, because I would love to do whiteboarding sessions during our live streams. Tell me if you'd like that, because I might be able to just start including that for these live streams. I like whiteboarding. It's a very easy way for me to communicate. But yeah, Digital Hustle Network just summed it up. Luna is built on the Cosmos SDK. That's what helps Luna's blockchain communicate with all of the other Cosmos-related blockchains. So UST didn't, and its meltdown didn't just affect the Terra blockchain. It affected Cosmos. It affected Osmosis DEX, where a lot of trading pairs across Osmosis DEX were paired with UST. So people who were trading, who were doing liquidity provision on Osmosis, got wrecked because UST went to zero. And on chain, there were no protections. It wasn't like the centralized exchanges where they were propping up the price artificially, and it was worth 10x what it's supposed to be on those exchanges. No, on the chain was like, nope, algorithmically, using the Oracle data, we can just see this coin is racing to zero. That's what you get, zero. So it was pretty bad. It was pretty bloody in the broader Cosmos ecosystem. I know people personally who are dedicated Cosmos marketers and promoted who, I mean, they were like, heaven help these people, man. They work so hard. They were trying to do the right thing, the responsible thing. Some of them have families and stuff. They were trying to stay protected and stay hedged. So they were taking some of their profits and they were putting them into UST because it is the most available, or was the most available, air quotes, stable coin in the Cosmos ecosystem. So they were thinking like, all right, I'm taking profits. I don't want to be greedy. Yeah, this other coin could go a little, it could run a little farther, could pump a little bit harder, and but I'm going to take profits to protect my family. Overnight, they went broke. I mean, I talk to these people on a regular basis. We have like DM threads, and I see them with their kids and trying to save up for like a family vacation this summer, and like all of that is just wrecked right now. They're having to have some really tough conversations with their wives and children about how what they were doing in a decentralized way, keeping their own keys, using hardware wallets, all the best OPSEC, making sure they weren't going to get wrecked by attackers, not falling prey to affinity scams or to like or to bad abusive smart contracts that could clear out their wallets. They did every one of those, all the other things they did right. And then this project just like completely fell through, and what they thought was $1, it was nothing. I mean, yeah, and it's painful to think about, guys, because there are real casualties out there. So I don't mean to be insensitive when I talk about it. If there's anybody in the audience who got caught up in the wreckage of UST, I'm truly sorry. I know there are a lot of lives that have been ruined here, and I don't want to dwell on the negative. I know a lot of people also, like, this is one of the most tragic meltdowns in crypto because of some of the loss of life associated with it too. Some people absolutely succumbed to to the emotional illness of suicidal tendencies. I mean, a lot of families have been just destroyed by this meltdown. So I don't mean to be insensitive at all, guys. Legitimately, my thoughts and my feelings are with you. And my DMs are open. They're always open. Oh gosh, guys, getting on this topic is there's a reason I haven't talked much about it, guys, and that's been part of it. So I know there's been loss of life, and I know there's been very serious problems in the markets. So like, my DMs are open. If there's anything in these markets that you're feeling like, hey, this is like, things didn't go the way I hoped, or like I got really, really ruined, please consider me a resource. If I can be, right, I want to try to make time to talk people through stuff and just like get over this, because here's the thing, with our health, we can move forward, right? Your health is your wealth, so we can overcome anything, right? We can, with our health and a proper mental outlook, we can overcome a lot of different problems, right? Being human is awesome, I gotta say. Like, it's amazing. Of all the things you could have, the elements could have conspired to create in this universe, of all the things, right, that God, the universe, and everything, right, could have generated, aside from just the number 42, you got generated, you got made, right? So being human is pretty awesome, right? Like, there's so many things we can do, so many things we can learn, so many things we can master, so many people we can meet, so many communities we can build. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to preach here for just like 2 seconds, guys. So bear with it. I'll go fully non-denominational here, but being human is amazing. I wouldn't want to be anything else, right? I wouldn't want to be a rock. I wouldn't want to be a tree. I wouldn't want to be any lesser creature, right? Any lesser primate either, or a canine, maybe a dog, maybe a canine. Dogs are pretty happy, right? Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe there is something to that whole idea of being reincarnated ultimately into a cow, because they're pretty peaceful too. But anyway, the point is, I love being alive. I love being human, and I love meeting people who are full of life and have a zest for life. If for whatever reason you're struggling, don't struggle alone. And if it does boil down to you feeling like the only person that I can talk to is this guy, DMs are open always. Okay, I always keep some DMs open somewhere. So I just want to make sure that's very clear. Also, guys, we talk about community in this space. We have to take care of each other, especially when things are rough, and the rest of your family might be like, oh, well, I told you not to get involved in that crypto thing. It's like, bro, that doesn't help. You're not helping right now. Right? Like some of us get it where it's like, no, you took a huge risk, and you knew it was a huge risk because you knew there were outsized potential returns, because that's the only way you can get huge reward is to take huge risk. You knew it. And so, yeah, if you got to talk to somebody who's like, who'll get it, right? That's why we're here. That's why we have the chat going too. And I appreciate you, chat, for being a support to each other, guys. This matters. Paul Doherty asks, would you rather be one human or three very happy dogs? I don't know, man. Dogs they get a bit territorial as well. They're just like humans. The moment there are three, one of them gets picked on. So I don't know. I don't know that I could be three happy dogs simultaneously, because one of them would eventually kind of become the underdog. And if I were three of them, then I would be the underdog simultaneously. But would that be the ultimate expression of the full canine experience? Maybe, because you could be the top dog, the underdog, and you could be, the mediator. So that would be a very full existence too. But how would you split your consciousness between the three? Guys, these are deep questions. They're too deep for a guy like me. I don't think I have the mental capacity for it. Chemo and Crypto is saying, what's the easiest area of tech to enter or learn about if you're in healthcare and absolutely hate it? Wow, that's a phenomenal question. So first things first, my condolences. Healthcare is very, very hard. It's not easy because you're dealing with a lot of extremely difficult things, complex systems, and I know billing systems. And then also healthcare itself is not easy, especially as you're moving towards like whatever end of life care, or if you're dealing with people who are terminal. I've realized it's very, very hard. So first thing I would say, the easiest thing to enter into tech is you guys are going to hate me saying it, but the easiest thing to do, anybody can do to start moving towards tech, is to take any old laptop and install Linux on it. Right now, you can install Linux on it. The second thing you can do that's very, very easy to do is just as a hobby, right? That can then teach you some things that help you figure out, like, what side of tech would I want to learn about? Just to get some exposure. You guys saw my review of this little guy, but this is not this is not where I'm going with that. Just to say, like, you can find little hobby devices, single board computers, and low power compute devices like this, or like this hobby project that I've been flashing for like a year now, and I still haven't actually finally deployed in the way that I want to, because a couple of my machines that I was going to run with it are offline. But get a single board computer like a Raspberry Pi and just decide, like, oh, did I really like assembling this? Did I really like the aspect of getting it connected to something else? What was challenging, and what challenges was I able to teach myself to overcome, right? So, like, installing Linux on this, making it do certain things. You got to get some exposure. It's just like a college student. You got to get some exposure to different problem domains and then figure out, like, okay, what side of overcoming that problem did I have an aptitude for, an aptitude to learn, and an aptitude to do, right? To actually like win at. And then how could I reasonably take some of those things and learn about them and then make that transition? But I love that question. A friend of mine moved not from healthcare, but from the financial sector. He worked at a credit union, and I'm so proud of this guy. He's told me that in part it was because of our talks together about doing kind of nerdy stuff and challenging oneself. He moved from working in financial custody, right, at a credit union, into cybersecurity. Yeah, he totally made that shift. He went out and got a couple of small certifications, and then he started doing, like, help desk work, which is kind of grunt work. But when you do help desk, it's like, all right, you're taking baby steps towards cybersecurity. But he, in his mind, he was like, oh, I'm going to be hacker man. I'm going to go download Kali Linux, and I'm going to be like Mr. Robot. Whatever. It was a phase, right? It was a phase he went through. But then he actually went out and got the job, right? And not only that, he almost doubled his income in an 18-month period by taking that hobby on and kind of growing in that skill set and then making something happen with it. I'm super proud of this guy. Obviously not gonna dox him because of OPSEC reasons, but like, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. So yeah, I would say start with a couple of those like hobby projects. The hobby projects, they're based, they're grounded in some pretty solid tech skills that you can then translate into professional work later on. Like DevOps, right? You may decide, like, okay, I want to go into like I want to go into like software development, but I don't want to write code. Fine, you can go into DevOps, and that makes you more of a hardware-oriented person. And there's a huge need because there are a lot of people who do write code who don't want to do DevOps, right? And then the need for DevOps is only growing. The need for DevOps specialists who are really good at security is even higher. Than that, because so many people are failing with security when it comes to DevOps because they're not DevOps specialists who understand security, if that makes sense. So many different fields to go into, and the needs are actually growing. We talk about with the prospect of there being a huge market correction and the potential for there being some kind of a recession/depression in the future, that people are saying, well, we need more makers and builders. That's true too, right? Like, hey, Finnish carpenters, house framers, carpet installers. There's apparently a huge lack of some of these job roles, of people to fill these jobs out in the markets right now. And I realize that's not sexy, like a tech job. So I get that people will be like, what does that have to do with the main question? Just to say, people who are looking for any kind of a change in what they do for work. I've got another friend who actually did work in hospital administration. He moved entirely to finish carpentry, and within about a year or two started his own company. So he's not just working as a foreman on site. He actually runs his own company, has employees that work for him, and he's able to do something with his life that radically changed his lifestyle. So he's no longer punching in on somebody else's schedule. And I mean, he works like crazy, and he worked like crazy especially for about 2 years. But I mean, he kind of writes his own ticket now. And he fills a need that the market is showing that it just needs more and more and more of. So, yeah. Schemo Crypto saying, thank you for that. A Raspberry Pi can run Linux. Yes, it can run Linux. It runs it very well. And it runs a couple of different distributions. The main one to look for is called Raspbian. It looks like a portmanteau of Raspberry and Debian, the Linux distribution, Debian. But it's called Raspbian. Very easy to work with, designed for the Raspberry Pi. You can start there, and all the commands that you would be learning about when dealing with Debian-based systems, you can use on that. So, little hobby computer, like sips power, as much power as like your phone. And then you have all kinds of different options to learn from there. You can make it do all kinds of stuff. You can make it run crypto wallets if you want to. You can have it do all kinds of other things. The video that I made about this little guy, little seed phrase generator, you can make it run the software that will generate seed phrases offline, which is pretty awesome. For a time, I was considering just getting my Raspberry Pi to just be a seed phrase creator, but also run my laser engraver so that I could engrave seed phrases directly onto other media. So all kinds of stuff, all kinds of just hobby projects that get you to get the exposure into all other sorts of things. So yeah. Yeah, so hey guys, that was a phenomenal tangent, and I loved it, and I hope that's helpful. Chemo and Crypto, I legitimately do. I want to see you win at that new pursuit, especially if, like right now, you're working in a field that you're finding increasingly difficult to stay in. Like, love it or hate it. So it's okay to acknowledge also that some careers, that some job paths, that for you, for the individual, will result in a dead end. I mean, that's okay. It's okay to just say, like, all right, I don't see this going where I wanted it to go. Or maybe I misunderstood the opportunities that were available to me before. I got to make a switch, right? Whether you love it or not. Like, you might love some of your coworkers. You might love where you work. You might love the schedule. You might even love the pay, right? But if you know that it's like, okay, well, but I got a glass ceiling coming up pretty quick, then, how long can you stay around anyway, right? So good for you for recognizing that you might need to change. All right, guys. We've been talking about Luna. We talked about app-specific chains, but not Luna. We actually got more to cover in terms of the news cycle. I'm pretty excited, guys. It's a pretty stacked episode today as far as what we're actually going to talk about. I believe that cancer treatment has got to be really tough to be around. But let's move on to some of our Tether FUD. Guys, Tether FUD, it's making the rounds again, but they're actually making some changes this time because of all the FUD that's come back up. This is brought to us by the Block Crypto. Appreciate that. that Tether is reducing its commercial paper holdings to improve the quality of reserves. It's as if on cue, guys. I was on Satoshi Sean's channel a few days back over the weekend, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I trust Tether and I trust USDC." And I said, "Okay, yeah, well let me ask you a question, and I need an answer. Honestly, I'm going to ask the Mind Your Biz community right now. What is commercial paper?" How long has it been since you've heard that song? Go ahead and tell me in the comment section, the live chat, what is commercial paper? When they say we're going to, reduce our commercial paper holdings, what is it though? Right? What is commercial paper? Can you give me an answer? Do you know? Because Tether claims that is in part what backs the Tether stablecoin, USDT. But they're not alone, right? USDC, Circle, Coinbase Ventures, and then Center, which is a joint venture between Circle and Coinbase that is responsible for the USDC stablecoin, is also backed in large part by something called commercial paper. But what is commercial paper? Right? So most people are not totally aware of what commercial paper is, myself included. I had to do some reading. I'm not a CFA. I don't have a Series 7 license to talk to you about the specifics of what all these things are. But you guys have watched the show for a little while. I'm a curious monkey. I like to find out. So, yeah, I asked myself that question, then I asked the internet that question, and I found what I thought is an answer. Paul Doherty comes back and says it's loans to companies. The Deadwood saying a fake note that means they're going digital. I like that answer best so far. Paul, your answer was technically correct, but the Deadwoods is technically hilarious. So Chemo Crypto says fiat. Hey, all the above. It's that and more, right? It can be defined in any one of those three ways, actually. So it is basically, it is a promise. Can it be rehypothecated? That's our vocabulary word for the day, too. Paul Doherty says, I think they were called junk bonds in the 80s. Nice. It's awesome. And Manuel is in the chat saying, how's it going, brother? Glad to see you doing well. Thank you so much, Manuel. Appreciate you being here with us live. But we're going to take a look at this other word, rehypothecation. And we're going to jump to our screen. What is rehypothecation? Let me also, I am back for on DuckDuckGo for certain searches, guys. I tried using search for a while, spelled with an X, and as an aggregator, it just was not tuned in well enough. So I'm using DuckDuckGo part of the time. I'm using Start Page part of the time. I'm still avoiding Brave. And what I need to do is launch my own search instance with much finer tuned control. If and when I do that, I'm just going to open it up to the community and I'll make it a resource for everybody to use when I finally get that search server running the way I like to. And then I'll just, it'll have my preferences on it for, certain areas of the world to be able to pull results from, and then filtering certain kinds of results and throwing out some of the, the junk results. But I'll let you know when I finally get that running. I just haven't yet. I've been using a friend's instance of search, and it's just not quite tuned the way I like it. So I've moved away from it for now. But rehypothecation, what is this? Rehypothecation was a common practice until 2007. It definitely went away after 2007. Nobody uses rehypothecation now. That's not a thing. But it's a practice whereby banks and brokers use for their own purposes assets that have been posted as collateral by their clients. Clients who permit rehypothecation of their collateral may be compensated either through a lower cost of borrowing or a rebate on fees. In a typical example of rehypothecation, securities that have been posted with a prime brokerage as collateral by a hedge fund are used by the brokerage to back its own transactions and trades. So I'm going to bring in a little news story that came in that debuted last week. We've been hearing about how Coinbase published their terms of service, updated their terms of service, and it's been highlighted that Coinbase, in the event of a bankruptcy, can use customer wallets as repayment collateral for their debts. You guys probably see where I'm going with this. I know, we're talking about Tether first, but I wanted to bring up a vocabulary word for us so that we can have a conversation about this. Rehypothecation, I didn't know what this was, this time last year. Paul Doherty says it has a cool name post 2007, probably. You're probably right. It probably does have a cool new name, but in the meantime, also, when a when a sheepdog gets the taste for blood, you can't let it continue to watch the sheep. So our banking institutions, our financial institutions, they got a taste for blood, and its name was rehypothecation. So yeah, they definitely have changed their names, but the practices, nope, they still have a taste for that blood. Free money, cheap money. Can we just take this asset that we hold and pretend like that backs this loan and that loan and that loan and that loan and that loan? And then can we take that loan and say it's rolled into our backing for this loan? You see what I mean? Like, banks have been cooking the books for as long as we've been alive, and then some, right? Like, was it Henry Ford that said it is well that people don't know how the financial system runs? I think it was Henry Ford. It might have been somebody else, but I think it was Henry Ford, yeah, who talked about how the fiat system was totally broken and that it's good that people didn't know because they'd be rioting in the streets. But yeah, just continue to borrow against assets that are only held in one place, but pretend to various different different debtors or creditors, depending on the situation, that asset covers multiple potential calls, right, for repayment, when it can't possibly, right? That's why runs on banks are so dangerous. That's why runs on currencies like Luna became so dangerous, because you just don't have enough backing of real assets. So that's rehypothecation in a nutshell, guys. Having one ring and then telling 5 different people, like, oh yeah, your loan is backed by the full faith and credit of this ring. It's literally made of rubber. I don't even wear precious metal anymore. Why? But yeah, that's rehypothecation in a nutshell. A little example there. Well, Tether is saying they want to get away with any ambiguity that comes with holding commercial paper. This is a good thing. And I think it actually puts them in the running to be taken as seriously as USDC. Now, to bring USDC back into the conversation, guys, one of the issues that I'm having recently is that USDC is backed by Coinbase and backed by the Center and by Circle Ventures. Well, what does it mean that Coinbase can use their customers' wallets as collateral? What if, and I've got the tinfoil hat on now, guys. What if some of the commercial paper that is backing USDC, because that's what the Center says about USDC, is that commercial paper is a significant portion of the backing for the USDC coin. What if that commercial paper is actually the customer wallets on Coinbase? Bruh. They're selling you your own crypto back to you as a stable coin and telling you it's backed by your crypto. As conspiracy theories go, does this sound too far off base? Could I be wrong here? It is an allegation. There's no proof that that's the commercial paper that the Center is using to back USDC. But I'm a little bit worried about it, guys. I was not worried about USDC this time last year. I'm worried about USDC today. After announcements like what Coinbase made, I'm worried. I was never previously even questioning whether it was fully backed, but I am now. Tether apparently is trying to get ahead of any of that sort of news and saying, we're just going to reduce our commercial paper holdings. We're just going to try to liquidate some commercial paper and make it liquid by going to cash. That's going to reserve our dollars. Like when we tell you that one Tether equals $1, we mean it. It's worth $1. And they've done that to the tune of several billions of dollars that they've taken out of commercial paper and put into dollars. So right here, said that they previously reduced it by almost not quite $5 billion. Party Farm is saying USDC is fine. I mean, sure, I don't think there's anything wrong with it either. But that's what I'm getting at, is that it's all relative. Like, it's all relative. People want to spread Tether FUD, but then say USDC is better because of what exactly? Because they've both been audited now, and they've both basically come forward to say, like, oh yeah, we've got a significant percentage of our reserves in commercial paper, not in dollar backing. So to say USDC is fine, that's a 3-word answer to a much more complex question. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it's probably fine. And the same way I think DAI is probably fine. And I think that LUSD is probably fine because it's over collateralized, right? I think there are a bunch of stable coins that in this scene that are probably fine. But man, I don't want to see them get tested. I don't want to see them get tested in a way that would create a run on those assets that would force them to call on the value of those assets. So especially when they're saying they're backed by commercial paper, I'm a little bit more worried. Again, this time last year, I had zero worries at all. But today, I'm a little bit worried. Hey guys, here's the thing. I have disagreements with Ben, BitBoy Crypto, on his channel. You may have seen me yesterday on Around the Blockchain, where he was moderating the show. A lot of fun. I may have disagreements with BitBoy, with Ben Armstrong, or with any of his guests, but I will never say that I'll never say that the man is unintelligent or that he's incapable of thinking through some complex problems in this space. Respect the man immensely. I really do. Respect him immensely. So yeah, I disagree with him though on that point. You bringing it up, Chemo Crypto. I disagree with him about USDC becoming the new digital dollar. I think that Circle Crypto and the Center, they're trying to become that nationally chartered bank. They're trying to be recognized as a central bank, or rather as a banking authority in the United States, which would turn it into a de facto CBDC, but it's not technically one, because it would still just be a nationally chartered bank and not a central bank per se. So, yeah. Paul is saying JP Morgan's on board with USDC, so I don't think someone will attack it. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's part of the cabal now. So the likelihood of actually being called, not high. But the point is they had to come clean with their terms of service on Coinbase that they are using customers' holdings as collateral in the event of a bankruptcy. How likely is that? It's not that likely, right? That's my point also. A lot of the stuff is not likely. These are doomsday scenarios that I'm laying out for you. And again, the tinfoil hat goes on, and I have to frame it as a conspiracy theory, not a conspiracy fact, right? I'm just saying that like there's more than meets the eye to claims that USDC is better backed than Tether, and there's more than meets the eye to any of these other claims that Circle or Coinbase or the Center or JP Morgan or any of these institutions is operating in a fully sustainable, sound way, if that makes sense. The Deadwood is saying, what's the story with ETH being chosen by CBDC? Hey, B. Baker has got a good point. What the heck, guys? I'm seeing that view count go up. I'm not seeing the like counts go up either. Smash that button. I am just sitting here talking, though. We can talk about that a little bit. That was talked about on yesterday's show. So ETH being chosen as a CBDC is actually a second layer for Ethereum that was chosen as a CBDC within Norway. And so that second layer solution is going to be, I think, where the devil and the details are. So, yeah. Chemo and Crypto. Every conspiracy theory I've heard in the last 10 years have all become true. My tinfoil hat is always on. That's phenomenal, man. Yeah, that's why I'm a little worried about it, guys. I see a few breadcrumb trails for me every now and then. I'm like, please don't be. Please, brain, please shut off, because I'm always thinking about this stuff. Like, I'm always thinking about what could go wrong here, not so that I, focus on having, like, manifesting the negative outcomes, but so that I just think, like, okay, how do I avoid financial ruin? Really, honestly, how do I avoid financial ruin in this new space? Because, whatever, you make fewer mistakes, and then by default, you kind of succeed at some things. Hopefully, that's the game theory there, anyway. But yeah, appreciate those thumbs up, guys. Thank you so much for being supportive. Did somebody take one away? Somebody they're like, no, I unlike it now. I hate you. It's all right, man. Haters gotta hate. That's just it's a biological need. You gotta hate every 5 hours or something explodes inside of you. So anyway, so Tether, they're reducing their commercial paper. I think that's a very, very good thing. I would love to see Circle and USDC do the same thing. That's it. That's where I was going with that before. Circle Crypto, Coinbase, and the Center. If you could give us some assurances that you are not so heavily backed by commercial paper, that would be cool for USDC too. And realize that Big Brother JP Morgan is watching out for you, despite Jamie Dimon's thoughts and opinions on crypto. Big brother JP Morgan is watching out for you because JP Morgan, makes one phone call and any bank, any partner bank says, yes, sir. But, sound principles are sound principles. If you want to say that you're fully backed, then stay fully backed. Yankees in the chat. He says, I'm bad about staying on topic. Heck yeah, man. That's what makes it fun. I miss you, by the way, man. We got to do a live stream. So, yeah, Tether, reducing that paper, that's a good thing. Circle will do the same. Let's talk about Avalanche. Why are we talking about Avalanche, guys? First off, a friend of mine is part of the Krabata play to earn game on Avalanche. So let me know if you're into Avalanche. If you want me to have that person on for an interview, we can just kind of talk. It's a high profile community member of the Krabata game and the Krabata ecosystem. Maybe we can talk to them. But let me know if that would be interesting to you, and I will make it so. But the Avalanche team is talking about why subnets are better than other scaling solutions. And guys, you may have noticed from my channel, I'm not like some Avalanche maxi. I'm not some AVAX maxi. I'm not even necessarily Polygon maxi per se, but most of what I've been doing on Ethereum has been on Polygon, including taking mining payouts. They were the first to do it. They're the largest to do it. The majority of at-home miners are taking their Ethereum payouts, or have been taking their Ethereum payouts over the last 6 months on Polygon, despite some of them saying, like, no, Seth, you're wrong. They then completely, whatever, actions speak louder than words. You can talk trash about Polygon all you want, but if you're using it, then your talk is cheap, right? So Polygon has done very well there. Nobody's using Avalanche as a scaling solution in that way, right? It's just not something that we're seeing in the wild. So while Avalanche may have really strong fundamentals, people aren't using it in the same kind of scaling needs assessment, right? Like, okay, Ethereum's too expensive. We're going to use Avalanche. Nope, just not the same way. TVL isn't as high. There's a lot of stuff that is just not quite. No, I'm sorry. TVL is as high or higher, but transaction volume is not as high. Transaction throughput is not as high, in part because now subnets are launching, but they didn't actually flood the entire bandwidth of the main Avalanche chain, right? So that's where for me, I'm like, okay, I want to see more action over on Avalanche. I want to see some more things happening over in Avalanche before I do a deeper dive. Well, it's finally happening. So now they're doing it, but they call them subnets, and they talk about how they work. Lets it scale infinitely. And it's basically sideways scaling, right, guys? It's horizontal scaling, additional side chains that then can tie back to the main chain for settlement. But this is Avalanche essentially positioning itself against Ethereum, not necessarily as a dedicated time-stamped side chain to Ethereum the way that Polygon does. Polygon actually does side chain, you could say correctly, to Ethereum, and that it has a regular timestamp, and checkpoint with Ethereum. So everything that happens on Polygon is always notarized on the Ethereum blockchain. It's stamped into the Ethereum blockchain. There are those checkpoints that help to sort of serve as a sanity check for the Polygon ecosystem that reside on Ethereum, if that makes sense, right? That's my understanding of that ecosystem so far, and I don't believe that's the case for Avalanche right now. But yeah, they have a full Medium article on how they work, which I highly recommend you click through to read about in its entirety, but they're custom application-specific blockchains in the Avalanche ecosystem. But yeah, developers win by scaling their applications in hours rather than months or even years, differentiating on the experience they provide to users and how expanding the utility for applications governance tokens, which can now be used for transaction fees on that subnet. This is, it's verbatim what Polygon is doing with Supernets. So think of these as like application-specific sidechains. They're really similar to how Cosmos and the Cosmos SDK works, right? Cosmos Hub and the IBC ecosystem. Just like how you had Luna, right? That used its own token as the gas fee utility token for all of the Terra blockchain. And you have, right, Osmosis, the DEX, basically the DEX chain of the Cosmos ecosystem that, in order to pay for fees, you have to have the Osmosis token, right? You have the Osmo token that you pay the gas fees in. Well, imagine that's the case with both Avalanche and Polygon now, because it is. And they talk about interoperability, and they are now in direct competition. it's getting interesting in my mind. They're both saying essentially at the end of the day, if you want to be considered for your own application-specific side chain to our main chain, either Avalanche or Polygon, just go fill out this Google form and we'll talk to you. It's crazy. They're doing business development with this extremely abstracted high-level sales funnel, and saying like, all right, go check, fill out this Google form, and we'll get back to you if we think you're a good fit for our blockchain. And that's the absolute state of scaling on these EVM chains. But I think in both cases, Avalanche and Polygon, they'll give you shared security. They'll allow for shared staking with the validator set that they already have, which of course is a bit of a problem. It's a bit like key reuse, private key reuse back in the aggressive Monero forking days. Guys, there are all kinds of problems that creep back up in different forms within blockchain. One of them is reusing too much of the critical infrastructure, right? So let's see. Paul Doherty is asking, are the Polygon Supernets going to use matic for transactions? No, they're not going to use matic for transactions, but the Polygon Supernets are going to use matic for validator rewards on the validator set that corresponds to those Supernets, if that makes sense. So that's where they're getting something right. Both AVAX and matic are getting something right, or Polygon and Avalanche are getting something right, where Cosmos got it totally wrong, because they negotiated themselves out of the deal flow. We'll just put it that way, right? Cosmos did. They're like, we're going to make this amazing SDK, and we can create this entire, broad ecosystem of all these chains that can that can talk to each other by default. They can all talk to each other. But then there's no gas fee that goes back to Cosmos that will ultimately leave enough utility in their token that they will continue to appreciate, right? Cosmos is unfortunately backslid in its market value because it has lost utility by giving away everything for free. That's why Terra came in and ate their lunch for a while. They're like, well, we're going to be the most high value blockchain because we have all this utility, and everybody's going to want to use our stablecoin. And even when our stablecoin goes over to Cosmos, or Bernie, Luna Inu coming, bro, it could totally work. We could do it. Somebody in our, please let it be somebody from the Mind Your Biz community that launches it, and just contact me. Be like, I know somebody who made Luna Inu. It would be peak kickoff to crypto winter to have a project like that, like do 1,000x and then race back down to zero, right? But one of you, I believe in one of you. You'll become a millionaire from that. So yeah, take Bernie's idea, run with it. So yeah, guys, Luna, unfortunately, they were able to see what the mistake that Cosmos made in terms of business development, and say, all right, how do we make ourselves critical infrastructure for the rest of this ecosystem when Cosmos itself didn't? And yes, it's a failed experiment now, but it's a successful experiment in that they said like, oh no, we're going to be the literal anchor protocol. We're going to be the anchor value system for all of IBC. Everybody's going to want to use our yield platform, Anchor, and everybody's going to want to use our stablecoin, UST. And everybody did. Every one of the IBC ecosystem chains was like, they were all in on UST. They're like, oh yeah, we don't even need to bridge any Tether. We don't need to bridge any USDC. We don't need to do any bridging at all. We don't need any backing. We'll just use, algorithmic stables because it's working. And Terra came in and just said like, all right, cool, there's a tax for that. Every one of those UST is backed by Luna. Every single time you use UST on one of your chains, our core token's value grows. And then, of course, when you're generating the new UST, you have to do so natively on our chain. You have to use the Anchor protocol natively on our chain, meaning the gas fees go to us, and then porting IBC, right, out of here over to your IBC chain, you have to pay our gas fees, right? So it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And to answer Paul's question from before, the Polygon Supernets, they use matic, the governance token for Polygon, to pay out the validators of these Supernets. So they said like, how can we reasonably do this? Because we want to incentivize people to build. I realize I'm not wearing my ring. Don't get any weird ideas. People thinking like, it's Mind Your Biz guy. Is he on the market? No, I'm not. Happily married. Jokes. These are jokes, guys. They're really, really bad. I'm really tired, I think. Or there's just heavy pollen count. But But they saw the mistake made by Cosmos, and Polygon said, okay, how do we incentivize the people to build these supernet chains, right? These sideways scaling chains, but then also make sure that we can maintain operation by adding utility with our token in that ecosystem, right? When these new chains pop up, how do we make sure that they pay the piper, right? Well, they did that by making sure that the validator sets that create very simple deployment of these new Polygon supernets, that they are all paid in matic. So if you want to support these chains, you have to be supportive of the Polygon ecosystem. Ooh. Yeah. You have to be supportive of the Polygon ecosystem, at least to that extent. And yeah, I know Yankee's been playing a long game. He's like, thank you for clearing that up. And I didn't want to say anything, Yankee, but really I was just talking to you. So now you know. I know your long game has been foiled. You've been after this specimen for like 4 years. I was waiting until we met up in person to just tell you in person, be like, like touch his face and be like, Yankee, I'm taken. I had to spoil it, man. Sorry. So. But Polygon's going to handle that problem by paying out matic to the validators that secure all of these sideways scaling solutions. And I think that Avalanche is doing it in a similar way. At this point, it's been a race to get the press releases out first. Polygon did that last week, and then they launched the call for applications, right? The request for proposal system, right? And then Avalanche did it this week by calling it Subnets, and then they're just like having these little flame wars on crypto Twitter or wherever else. I'm looking from the sidelines like, guys, seriously, it's just getting entertaining, right? Pass the popcorn, because all of these different platforms are trying to do similar things. They're a good idea, right? The interoperability is a good idea. Being able to have chains that natively talk to each other is a good idea. Having them be more closely interoperable with Ethereum, in my mind, that's the best idea, because you've still got the king daddy over there of DeFi saying like, yeah, Uniswap, that started with us. Curve, that started with us. Tether, that started with us. USDC, that started with us. All of these major tentpole projects with tens of billions of dollars of TVL, they originate here on Ethereum. You're not just going to take that value out of our system and not pay the piper. So I think that the projects that are most closely aligned with Ethereum are going to do well. So yeah, that's my take on that. But I appreciate that they finally published this. Guys, let me know if you want to see the Krabata Swimmer subnet. They actually have a dedicated subnet for Krabata. So if you want to see somebody from their a highly visible member of their community on the channel where we just kind of talk about that more in depth, I'd like to talk to him. And this person knows who they are, Jay Swimmer. So Jay Swimmer, if you want to hop on the channel, you've had an open mic here for a year, my friend. So yeah. Yeah. Yankee is talking about having a 3F philosophy, and Paul Doherty says, I don't know what that is, but it sounds hot. Yeah, right? GPU mineable coins, we're going to get to that in just a second here, guys. That's kind of our news, though, for the day. I wanted to go over some of those topics right there. Tell me what you think, though, about this competition heating up between Avalanche and Polygon. What do you think? Are we onto something here? Do you think that the TVL that is going to launch natively on Pulse Chain when it finally launches is going to give both these guys a run for their money on their L1? Because I think it probably is, personally. But I think there's room for all of them. Right? I really do. I think that all these scaling solutions for right now, even if we are looking at something that resembles like a crypto winter, I think we're going to see a lot of building from all of these three groups. But in particular, AVAX versus Polygon. AVAX versus Matic, Polygon versus Avalanche. I think we're going to see a fierce competition for the application-specific chains that are closer to EVM like infrastructure, with all that implies, right? All of the AMM DEX solutions being able to support them, the liquidity solutions and lending solutions being able to support them, all of the the mixing solutions like Tornado Cash and whatever else, be able to support them, all the smart contract code base that's already out there, right, in the open source, being able to support them. I think that some of those chains, I think they're going to do the best right now. IBC had a great run, but the downfall of Luna and UST, I think, has really taken a toll on a lot of the IBC chains. They're not done. They're not done building. But I think the EVM chains, that style chain, they're going to get the best possible in the next 6 months, right? So 6 months, maybe a year, I think we're going to see massive building in those ecosystems. And yeah, I think there's room for all of them. Tell me what you guys think, though, of those three in particular: Polygon, Avalanche, Pulse Chain. What are your thoughts? All right, guys, moving on. Take a look at our GPU mining profitability. If you completely tied your identity to GPU mining, we got news for you, son. I got 99 problems, but that ain't one. Right now, your profits are way down, and it's a bummer. It is almost time to start buying from capitulated miners, though. And I've been saying that for a little while. We're waiting for those prices to come down so that if you do want to get into GPU mining, if you think that there's a future for GPU mining, then it's almost time. It's a proven technique. T-Bone Gaming. I try not to think, LOL. Dude, right? That would make life so much easier. I gotta do more of that. Think less. Think less. Stop thinking. The RTX 3090 Ti currently showing less than $2 of profit if you had a cost for power of 14 cents. It's not particularly rosy. It looks kind of bad. I'm not going to lie. Speaking of not looking very good, looking kind of bad, my dark mode on this browser is not my favorite. I think I switched to something that was not Dark Reader, and it's been okay, but it has not been my favorite color palette. I don't know. Maybe I can get this fixed soon. I'll do some tweaks on my ungoogled Chromium installation. Paul Doherty, short Chia, reverse moonshot time. Heck yeah. T-Bone, by the way, it is good to see you in the chat, man. I don't see you that often. And T-Bone Gaming, guys, if you're not subscribed, a lot of fun. Father-son gaming channel. But, yep, 3090 Ti not having its finest hour, and now the 4 gig Polaris cards are underwater at that high cost for power. If that's what you're paying for power, you are out of the money. Looks like you'd have to be below 14 cents per kilowatt hour to make a 4 gigabyte Polaris card work for you at all. So, yeah, guys, this is going to be rough. I realized there was a huge test done recently to see which coin could maybe absorb more of the hash rate from Ethereum after the Beacon Chain merge. And I think I respectfully declined to comment back then because I just think it's too early. I think it's too early to know for sure how that's going to work out. The profitability charts, for example, don't always respect that. I think most people, when they were doing that test, were talking about, like, well, who's going to win, Raven or Flux? And look what the market actually did. It said, I'm going to sidestep all that, and because you guys are increasing the difficulty, you'll actually make money mining Firo. So I think it's hard for us to model what that's going to look like in the future, right? So Equilibria also, I think other people were saying, like, well, you know what I think is good? It's going to be Ergo. Where's Ergo on this list? Oh, wait, it's not. It's not on the list at all. Basically, every project that you guys were talking about moving your hash rate to got bumped out of the profitability rankings entirely because you artificially moved a bunch of hash rate over there. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I did see Raven farther down on the list on these coins that are basically underwater with profit. If you're on higher power costs. So yeah, I abstained from speculating on that because it just kind of went sideways. And we know it's going to go sideways, guys. GPU mining profitability is going to be given a serious test over the next couple of months, especially as we do see the Ropsten testnet move to Beacon Chain merge in June, right? That is apparently happening, is that a testnet is going to experience a test Beacon Chain merge. So they're going to slowly dip their toe in the water, and then maybe at some point after 6 months down the line, maybe in 2023, which was my initial estimate. So it's a good thing that BBT and I are not betting men, because I would have taken some of his money for that. But 2023, guys, when it looks like they'll actually get their Beacon Chain merge done on the mainnet. So we've got time. What we don't have is a whole lot of predictability as to how the hash rate move will affect all the profits across all the coins. So that's a bit of a problem there, right? It's an ongoing problem for us figuring out where to point hash rate at. Ethereum is still top dog, even with GPUs that are kind of overbuilt for that purpose, right? You got that massive hash rate, 128 gigahash or mega hashes thrown at Ethereum. You're only getting $2 a day, little under $2 a day. Not revenue, but profit, right? It's not looking good. So where do you turn your GPUs? Well, I'm just going to continue to say, guys, I don't know. I don't think anybody right now can properly model what that's going to look like. It's hard to do on paper, and it's even harder to do with a hash rate test, because the moment you start to factor in difficulty, which you see by doing a real world test, the difficulty changes the outcomes dramatically. Just so much. Yankee, I think, is saying it very well. Ethereum till the split. Right? Yeah. But what else are you going to do? You kind of have to throw your cards at where there's profit. And the moment you start making it ideological only, you actually strangle the goose that's laying the golden egg. Like we see on these charts with Ergo and with Flux. It's sad. You hate to see it, but there you go. So hey guys, don't kill the projects you love. Don't squeeze them too hard, because you will potentially kill them. On our charts, though, guys, our portfolio tracker, we've got Flux still in the top position for GPU mining. It's held its profit better than anything else if you were doing a long-term hodl. Over the last 7 days, though, it's been Cortex, Safecoin, Beam, and Raven that have kind of returned to a little better profitability. That's cool. Cool to see that for sure. Zano, though, is up as well. Firo is up also. That may be why it's showing that profitability. Bernie, miners got to go buy that Luna Inu. Hey, got any more of that Luna Inu? Any more of those cheap meme coins? Dude, it can work. Paul, I need to mine some Ropsten ETH on June 8th. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm rich on Ropsten. I didn't want to brag, but now that you ask, Ropsten, I got tons of Ethereum on Ropsten. So, guys, CoinGecko. Oh my gosh, I actually have to say it. By the way, I actually have to say it. If anybody in the audience is not aware, Ropsten is a test net for Ethereum. The coins there are valueless. They're worth nothing. And they've got faucets there that will give you, like, I think 5 or 10 Ethereum at a time. So just throwing it out there. Bernie is asking, isn't Safecoin a proof of stake coin? Yes, it has moved to proof of stake. I've left it here for the legacy coins that were mined and were migrated. So just throwing that out there. B Baker is asking about Monero mining. We will show that in just a minute here. Just a moment when we go to our CPU mineable portfolio. Relevant questions, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you keeping me on topic there. But yeah, Safecoin is one that you would have had to hold for a long time by mining it on your GPU a little past a year ago. So this is a much longer term hold. But right now, they rebased to the Solana code base. That's what Safecoin did, because they liked the performance characteristics. I had a heart-to-heart with their project founder about that move, and apparently, in order to seed some of the value of their exchange, Safe.trade, they had to buy some Solana, and they bought it at a cost basis of $2 per coin. And he was like, yeah, but I only bought enough to seed to seed this little thing over here. It wasn't a lot, guys. And he's like, man, I wish I would have YOLO'd in and put 10 grand into it. But he didn't. So just a funny little story there about the Safecoin team and the Safe Trade team. Such pragmatists, and wicked intelligent guys, but such pragmatists that they were like, well, we're not trying to turn a profit off that. We're trying to make a really good exchange. So I'm not going to buy too much of that. And he's like, I'm kicking myself. I could have been like filthy rich on my Solana purchase there. So appreciate you guys hanging out for as long as you can in the chat. We went live during lunch break for that reason. For a lot of people, lunch break for that reason. So we could have a little more hangout time, but and not be too stressed about closing out the live stream too fast. Haven is still down. It's approaching that $1 mark. If you believe in the Haven, if you believe in their mission statement, then maybe it's on sale. I think this most recent problem with Luna and UST has demonstrated very clearly why Haven keeps running into the problems that it has run into. Its stablecoin peg has gotten wrecked twice. So Haven is struggling to keep that in place as well. So yeah, guys, algorithmic stablecoins, they're very difficult, and we've seen it over and over and over again. They're really hard to do. Now, collateralized stablecoins, that's a different thing. Yes, they use an algorithm to track the value of the collateral that was given, but you can over collateralize a stablecoin, and if the cost of the coin that you use as collateral drops, even 50% down, you're probably okay. Like, that's the thing. You're probably okay. Almost 50% down. You're probably okay. And then the best collateralized stablecoins have a liquidation point where your holdings are no longer available to you after you've kind of like the sort of like a liquidity protocol, right? So getting a loan for a stablecoin, that collateral is no longer available to you. Your collateral is liquidated after a certain threshold. So there are ways to make that work, but Haven, unfortunately, was not able to make anything quite like that happen correctly. Their internal arbitrage system has gotten them wrecked a couple of times. So I think that's why their value is going so far down. It's just bad press after Luna and UST imploded. So unfortunately, Bernie's saying, need an algorithm that swaps to Tether just before the unpegging. And I think that's kind of the idea. That is kind of the idea. Though a lot of them say like, oh, we want to have an entirely, vertical system, we want our own little like silo. So we're going to have a separate coin that you're rewarded for if you help with liquidations, you absorb, if you keep some collateral here, it winds up starting to look like market making at a certain point. It's so complex, guys, but it mirrors a lot of what has happened in traditional finance over centuries, right? Like many, many centuries, guys. Market makers are not new, and this kind of and derivatives clearly are not new. And issuing paper, right, for certain kinds of collateral, clearly not new at all. It's just crazy that it's all happening now, automated, right, in the span of like 1 or 2 blocks, right? So on Ethereum, in half a minute, you can experience what we used to, like 100 years ago, used to take like 3 weeks to express in the markets, right? Because it's like you had to wait for somebody on a horse to ride across a country and tell somebody like, oh, my liege, something has gone wrong with the stores of grain, right? We must revoke all the papers. And then, yeah. Gobbles the 13th Goblin is in the chat saying, good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you here, Gobbles. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for hanging with us. So yeah, guys, it's crazy that we're seeing this stuff just accelerate. That's the only difference, right? These liquidations take place so much faster than they ever could have back in days of yore. So yeah, Haven is struggling because they were, they're pioneers in both the privacy-oriented stable space, but also the algorithmic stable space. So privacy plus algorithms, it's just really hard to do. So they're suffering because of that. And my heart goes out to them. Let's look at our hard drive mining coins. They're all underwater, but over the last 7 days, Sidecoin is the least underwater. Chia is, it's just, how low can it go? $37? I think that the poor investor is going to get his wish. He might be able to pick up this coin at $15. And I tell you what, the poor investor, if you do wind up getting some of that at $15, please give me a shout out. Please tag me, and I will pick some up as well. We'll compare notes. We'll see what our different approaches are at that point. Or maybe I'll just like keep an alert on my CoinGecko, so I do the same thing. I think it's a great target that he's mentioned for Chia, because yeah, there could be a light at the end of the tunnel there. Maybe. So teams over tech, if you believe in that sort of thing. CPU mining. What's still on the money? Epic Cash and Raptorium. They've held their value very well. What's been doing the most, the best over the last 7 days? Looks like Epic Cash is staying above $1. That's cool. And then Monero is up a bit as well, but Monero is one of those coins. It's a bit like Bitcoin. It's one of the few privacy coins that has the same loyal maximalist following as Bitcoin. People just saying like, well, one Monero is one Monero. Why would I ever get rid of my Monero? It's a sovereign bearer asset that gives me privacy by default. So like similar mindset, different implementation, right? So got to respect that. But unfortunately, there are also market realities of Monero now being a sub $3 billion market cap coin, right? There's only so much volume and liquidity out there that you can trade with or trade against, right? So it needs to be accepted in places, and then those places need to be able to sell it for fiat, when necessary. And they are today unable to do that to the tune of greater than $3 billion at a time. So it'll eventually limit adoption to not have a high enough market cap. Though that liquidity, right, is going to matter as well. It's more important, right, the liquidity, than just the market cap. But the point is, they are related. So good to see it doing better, though. That's good. Yenton is down really bad. Might be one of those less strong fundamental coins, and I think the trading chart is showing that. ASIC mining. Hey, Shooter McGavin is also on the... Shooter McGavin is in the chat asking about Pulse Chain. We just, I mentioned Pulse Chain a little bit earlier on. Guys, do me a favor, and I want you to search on YouTube. Anybody who's watching right now, please open up a separate tab on your browser. Search on YouTube. What is Pulse Chain funny animations? Look it up. Look it up, please. That will answer Shooter McGavin's question, I think, very well. ASIC mineable coins. We got Bitcoin at the top of the list. It's the least worst performer. It's 23% down since we put this entry into our portfolio, but over the last 7 days, Zcash coming up. It's keeping its head above water, over $100. We got Grin also doing a little bit better, which is crazy to me. It's not the most privacy coin out there. Decred also doing really well. Synthetic Bitcoin by Synthetics, rather Synthetics Bitcoin. Litecoin, then Ren BTC. Bitcoin proper, right? Coming in behind those synthetic representations of Bitcoin. That's crazy to me, but it has to do with the time that we put those into our portfolio. No, it doesn't. Actually, with the most recent weekly movement. So doing a little better. The Deadwood is chiming in. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. But our biggest loser has been Bytecoin. Looks like our ASIC mineable coins have done very well in terms of the last 7 days, but there's not a single one that is in the black for its long-term hodl. Anything that we have an entry for there. So that's something to be aware of as well. FPGA mining. FPGA mining. DCF. DCF, I love DCF has a very, very clear-headed assessment of this. I'm not going to call it good, bad, and different. Not going to call it right or wrong, but I love the way DCF has said this. DCF says Pulse. It's an ETH fork. Overhyped marketing. Pretty good bet to have a 100x plus run. Simple. Yeah, right? Pretty awesome. Kimo Crypto saying, heard Pirate Coin is a good coin, still doing research. Well, it's in our portfolio there. It was back in the ASIC mineable portfolio. For the FPGA mineable portfolio, Cadena. Yeah. Who said it? Who said it in the chat? Yep. DCF. ASIC mining. It's not really an ASIC miner that you use for Cadena. It actually is an FPGA miner right now, unless they've got a dedicated machine that only does that. But the algorithm has made that possible. So for FPGAs to be really high performance, they're still above the profit line in our long-term HODL portfolio, and they're up really, really well over the last 7 days. So they're the only ones looking good on this side of the portfolio. That said, last 24 hours, down. Last hour, down. Last 14 days, they could actually be down over the last 14 days. So there's quite a bit that could be going wrong there. The Gobbles, the 13th Goblin, is calling out 0x Bitcoin. We always have somebody. Is it oscillating? That's a 7-day chart. I don't think it's doing that high frequency swing that it did before. I'm going to pop it open anyway because it's a lot of fun to look at. There's the last 7 days. Again, guys, my dark mode is way off here. See, just reverse the chart instead of showing dark mode throughout the chart. Let me see if I can get this to work as well. I'm logged in. Nope, totally didn't reverse it. You jerk. Come on. All right, chart's not complying. It's not helping us out here. But over the last 24 hours, yeah, it's showing us a couple of swings, but not like it was before. Before it was showing us almost an hourly or every 2 hours a swing up. And I mean, it was crazy. It was like clockwork. I mean, we saw people on the channel, we saw people for weeks, for months, clearly using swing trading bots, automated bots, to just 10% every hour. 10% up, scalp it, boom. Next hour, scalp it, boom. Next hour, scalp it. Somebody out there was making a gosh darn fortune off of 0x Bitcoin. And we saw it. We saw it in the charts. I mean, it had to be somebody using a swing trading bot, like automated trading on one of the exchanges, but then clearly there was enough volume on the decentralized exchanges because it's an Ethereum token that somebody was just somebody just use that as their retirement plan. They're like, all right, I got some play money over here in crypto. Like, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to go wreck this coin without anybody knowing it at all. Like, it was brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant, guys. You love to see it. Love to see people winning. Somebody out there was winning. Was there a counterparty that was taking an L? Maybe. I don't know. Paul, that was me. Yeah. Finally, our 0x Bitcoin burglar has outed himself. Stereo 2 is in the chat. Thank you for being here with us. Appreciate you being here live. All right. So what do we got? Proof of stake smart contracts. Proof of smart stake tracts. That's not a thing. I totally made that up and it didn't work. Please forget I ever said it. Solana still in the number one spot. It's up 48% since we put that portfolio trade in initially. Avalanche is up 46%, so it's still up. But who's been getting punched in the face the last week? Oh, I don't know. These guys over here. Whew. Oh, what a dangerous game. I know people have been throwing pocket change at this over on exchanges and saying like, I saw a 400% pump on Luna on this exchange. I'm going to scalp it. Dude, you're right. There may be some money there. Maybe. With Luna. That's possible. Maybe. Whatever. But dang, how do you live with this? How do you go to sleep at night, man? Like, it's a failed project. Just let the poor thing die. Like, leave it alone. Anyway, just weird. Tomahawk Network. Oh, that's Ton Token. That is the fake Ton coin, not the one that people were actually mining before, just so you know. Or Tokamak Network, not Tomahawk. Dang. But flatline. It's dead, Jim. So anyway. Down at the bottom, which is actually in reverse order, Harmony is doing the best over the last week. BNB doing pretty well. Polkadot also doing all right. Wax and Phantom. ICP. What the heck? Okay, fine. They're also doing okay. The volatility, guys, these charts are looking heavily correlated to Bitcoin. I think a lot of things are right now, and that is why our chart is only tracking Bitcoin. That's why when we do take a look at TradingView, we only look at Bitcoin because there's still quite a bit that's correlated to Bitcoin. I don't care what the newest, greatest thing is. And we saw it with Terra this last week. When the newest, greatest thing either fails or has a problem, we have to measure it in Satoshis, right? Like, what has your net gain been in Satoshis, not in dollars? Because there's an opportunity cost, always. And I think we've been pretty consistent about that on the channel as well, saying that every now and then we got to flip that chart from dollars into Bitcoin. How is it trading against Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin at some point may be the standard. One can hope, right? Maybe it won't be. But the point is, there's an opportunity cost. Bitcoin becomes that asset that everybody flies to when stuff is kind of like looking uncertain for everywhere else. Paul Doherty says a tokamak is a fusion reactor. The more you know. That's awesome, man. Love that. Yeah. What does it mean that it's melting down? Oh, no. All right, guys, that's our proof of stake smart contracts. Moving over to the junk drawer. This is where we have the real fun. Everrise, our totally fake entry point, which is totally unrealistic and you totally can't own, is looking awesome on paper. Same with Saitama Inu, which is a totally fake entry point that you could totally not ever realistically own. It looks great too. We've made so much money on paper. It looks great, right? These look great. But the realistic possibility of you owning that much, you would own like half the coin supply for Everrise. Nobody owns half the coin supply, except for maybe some of the developers. I mean, it's possible, right? Isn't it? That's possible. So maybe somebody out there owns $19 million worth of Everrise. Not me. I wish. That'd be cool. Luffy's doing pretty darn well as well. It's also like holding its value pretty well. Things are down, right, over the last 7 days for a couple of these, but for some of them, they're up, and then up and to the right for Floki Inu. How is that even possible? It just is. It just is. UFO Gaming also up and to the right over 7 days. Looking good in that respect. And this side of our portfolio is doing well. Dojo on Mars up since we had that initial entry. Hex also up, even though it has kind of actually a local low for this week. It looks like it wicked down to 10 cents. It's in the 10 cent range at this point. So not sure what that big red candle day was midweek, but it's down in the 10 to 11 cent range. It's still above the acquisition price by like double from when we made this portfolio entry. It's done really well over the last year. So there's that, right, guys? There's that. We are coming up actually on our anniversary for this portfolio as well. It was May 26th. of 2021 that we created the portfolio entries for all these different coins. And so anything you're seeing here is coming up on its 1 year performance chart in terms of that long-term hodl that we see in the far right column, the PNL, right? So profit and loss all the way out to the far right here represents 1 full year of ownership wherever applicable. Some of these coins launched within that time frame, and so it's not a full year. It is, a little less than that. But just keep that in the back of your head as you're looking at some of the stuff, that it's not about timing the market. It has been, well, I guess in part it's about timing the market, right? I just pulled a Trayvon James on you. In part it's about timing the market, because if you'd bought any of these, as we were starting to move down, or if you had bought the local top, if you'd bought the all-time high, yeah, you could be down still, as we are in Bitcoin. But a lot of these spec coin plays, or the speculative plays within this junk drawer portfolio, a lot of them are in the money still. I mean, it's crazy. Look at the number of coins that are in the money if you had bought them almost a year ago, where like Bitcoin is down by a significant margin from that same exact purchase date. Does that make it the correct choice to buy some of these altcoins? Only if you like gains. Only if you like gains from hodling for a year, right? That's the thing. So if you did want to flip something like go towards the top of the list, a bit of a speculative play, but not overly risky. If you liked something like Floki Inu or Dojilon Mars, and you did a 200% on your portfolio, you could have at any point when we were experiencing much higher profits extracted some value from that and then left a moon bag in this to let it ride, and you could have increased your holding of Bitcoin. This is the tried and true altcoin play, right? And especially with spec coin mining as well, speculative mining, like with your GPUs. When we go into this extended winter, like for GPU mining, it's not going to be like the Ethereum classics. It's not going to be the Fluxes and the Raven coins that most of us are going to really make serious money on. It won't. It'll be the spec mining plays that come out during that time that you can point your GPU at and then sock it away after mining for like a few days. I did that with Zano when it first launched. I didn't mine it more than 5 days, but I held enough that I was happy with that. And I did better per hour of mining, per day of mining with that GPU mineable coin than I've maybe ever done with Ethereum personally. So just something to consider. Buy low, sell high. I know, rocket science. The only way you do that is when it's a very, very obscure coin, though. So it's risky as heck, but that's why the reward is so high. That's a theme, guys. It's a theme that's going to keep on coming up in the Mind Your Biz show. Because the most risky thing at this point, when the market is reactive, right, and like, oh no, we got to conserve, we got to consolidate. The most risky thing is to hodl all the way down. It just is. And it's proven, right? It's proven. Retail is going to do that. Don't be like retail. You assess your own situation. You figure out what your risk profile is and your risk appetite is, but then try to make really informed decisions about what you could do. Jesse Bishop is saying maybe not a bear market, but just a prolonged correction. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it too. We could call that. We could just call it like a was it a false spring, right? It's a little frosty, a little cold. But it's not as warm as it should be, right? Very, very cold, or a cold snap. Maybe it's not a full crypto winter yet. That could be right. You could absolutely be right. We could see another leg up before things do return to an actual bear market. That's always possible. The point is, though, while market values are down, some of these coins just were not affected as much, right? They were very resilient to this market correction. So this prolonged correction didn't shake out some of the stronger hands of Saitama Inu. I know, it's crazy. Now, our position in this portfolio is, it's unbelievable, right? It's an unbelievably high position because there's not, let's see, 24-hour trading volume. Yeah, there's almost $7 million of 24-hour trading that's going on, and our position, oh, no, it's not. I was thinking of Everrise. I'm sorry. But it's still like this huge position we have. So the circulating supply is unknown, apparently, because of, I think, the way it's the liquidity is held up on chain. But the point is, there are people who have made serious money on it. There's Saitama Inu with $7 million of daily liquidity. Our position here in this portfolio, I was wrong. We could liquidate this today and probably not move the market. Bro. Yeah. Over 6,000% gains that we could just dump right now and not move markets. It's crazy. And some of these altcoins, some of these altcoin plays will allow that. Now, I mean, I'm saying that without actually looking this up on Uniswap to see what the actual market price impact could be. If we did just market dump, we would have to go and consult Uniswap or use a market maker and have them give us the real-time feedback from their oracles and their internal system there, the market maker system, to tell us what the price impact would be by doing that. Maybe we should at some point. But the point is, it's crazy, right? Uniswap V2 out there killing it. The majority of the volume is on DEXs. Look at that. So the majority of what we're seeing there from that volume is real. It can't be faked. So, yeah. The Deadwood says, better have those gardens ready for this year. Right? Dude. Yeah. So that's our kind of speculative side. The very, very highly degen side is over here. But biggest losers are unfortunately BoneSwap and the old QuickSwap. We need to add new QuickSwap. They did have a token split, but it's not all migrated yet. So let's see what we got. No, you will take my typing input. Do it. Where's new? Oh, it's just quick. There we go. Yeah, it's just labeled as quick, not new quick, just quick. All right. So yeah, we don't have that in place just yet, but it looks like old quick up 12% in a week, new quick up 22%. So there's a much stronger performance there. It looks like it's lower though overall. It is 1,000 to 1 split though, as you see right there, $77 per coin and 7 cents per coin. So that's something to be aware of. I've been tracking that. Fame MMA also not having its best performance. It was a little over 10 cents. I think even 15 cents earlier. Upwards of 25 cents per coin earlier. Doing very, very well, but down. Right? Not been the best week for Fame. Let's take a look past the junk drawer into IBC Gang. Guys, sorry, I'm kind of slowing down here. I am going to call it a live stream before we hit 2 hours though, because I don't want to totally kill myself. I got a couple of reviews to do. I think, just a little preview, I think I want to take a look at the new Opera browser. I think it's interesting. They have one that's just for Web3. It's cryptocurrency focused. So it's kind of a bit of it's positioned as a replacement and a competitor to Brave browser. I don't know. Jury's out for me. So I kind of think I need to test it. You tell me what you think. I'm seeing some things about Opera browser that I kind of like. It's never really been my thing though. It seems like there are people who love Opera browser and there's everybody else who's like, they don't hate it, but we're just we're indifferent. Who cares? That's me. I've been indifferent towards Opera browser. I think I'm going to take a look at it. You tell me if you use it. Do you like it? I'm taking a look at it soon. But I got to go do a review on that. Got to kind of do an install and walkthrough. So I got to leave some good recording hours for the day for that, plus some other things. But IBC Gang, Cadena is still in the #1 spot. Secret also doing pretty well. Pocket Change saying, dude, where you been? It's hard to say. But it's good to see you, Pocket Change. Thank you for stopping in. Good to see you here live. So IBC Gang. Cadena is still that #1 spot. Secret. Guys, and now that you're asking, I know where I'm going to be in early June. If you guys are in Central Texas, if you are in Central Texas, if you're going to be in Austin, stop by Decentral, stop by Consensus. I'm going to be moderating several panels, speaking on stage there live. We're going to be in Austin, guys. We're going to be in Austin. Come hang with the crew. Come say hello. Let me know you're in town, and let's go spend some time together, right? The broader cryptocurrency fam. If you're in the area, let's go spend some time together at these trade shows, and then also see the nightlife of Austin, Texas, which is, come on, let's be very real. It's so much more than 6th Street. Let's get off 6th Street. There's so much more to Austin than 6th Street. Way more stuff to do. So Round Rock Donuts, for example, we'll go out early. I know, crazy. Go to a trade show, go out in the morning instead of at night. We can do it, though. Round Rock Donuts is amazing. It's awesome. They've got that secret ingredient that I'll tell you about if you actually meet up in person. It's fun. It's good. Anyway, we'll have a fun time out there. Let me know if you're going. Also, in the description of this video right now, guys, I got to do the big camera again. In the description of this video, if you were not planning on going to Decentral, I've got the coupon code for 30% off if you're still looking for tickets to go. So, got to check that out. We got Golden Wolf jumping in from Seattle saying, oh, you're live. Yes, I am. Chemo Crypto says Austin is a strange place to get lost and wander around. It's true. That's the thing. You can be on foot after hours in downtown Austin, South Congress, wherever else, right? you can totally get lost on foot. And dude, you're in very good company. What you can't do, or you couldn't for a while, is get lost too far east in central Austin. You go to like South Austin, you're fine. But you walk too far east, and maybe you'll feel uncomfortable. Maybe. But you're probably safe there, guys. It's a very safe town. Really quite safe. I really love Austin. All right, so Paul already asked a question about Opera that I can't answer. I don't know. I'm going to have to find out. So Cadena, top of the list. Secret, doing pretty well. It's actually back above our acquisition price, which is great. Chemo Crypto says, yes, the bridge with the bats. It's true. Congress Bridge and the bats, they come out every night after sunset. You can stop right there. There used to be a couple of restaurants that had the big windows where you could sit and have dinner and you could watch all the bats fly out. We might do it while I'm there. Might bring some of the crew out there because we're going to be there for a couple of places. The Deadwood says, we have Voodoo Donuts here in Portland. Yeah, but Round Rock Donuts is not a chain. Round Rock is a city next to Austin. There is no Round Rock Donuts outside of Round Rock. There's just not. There's Gordo's as well, which is a donut place that's like gourmet donuts. Get it? Gordo's? Gourmet dough? Gordo's? It's a portmanteau. Gourmet dough? Nuts? There's some good stuff, man. Austin's a lot of fun. Plus, right time of year. Anybody who's adventurous enough, we can go rent some paddle boards, get out on the water, get some sun. Go see a lot of the sights from the water. You can actually see the bats from the water if you want to. Kayak if that's more your speed, and not a stand-up paddleboard. Guys, so much fun. We're gonna have a blast out there. If you're in the area, let me know. But yeah, Secret and Cadena are our only profitable entries right now. Terra, obviously, it's dead, Jim. I said that already. It's worth repeating. It's not going to get old. It's dead, Jim. So that's our listing there. Last 7 days. It's Certic that's doing all right, but I don't know what that even means. 42% down since we put it into the portfolio. Not looking great. 10 set gems. This is a side of the portfolio that's really important to me. We did have the Fame MMA 14 that took place 5 days ago. So we got that 7-day profit kind of affected by that. Did Everdome spike? No. Did Sunset spike? No. Did MetaHero spike? No. It did go up, though, about at that time that Fame 14 happened. Did Fame MMA spike? Yes. Yes, it did. But these are sustainable projects. In my opinion, I think they're going to do pretty well over the long haul because they actually have that utility of having scanned the fighters, right? Scanned the fighters. Jesse Bishop says, love Secret. Lots of VC money. Normally, that's a counter indicator for some people who like just the pure grassroots projects, but I agree with you. VC money can be very helpful too. Depends on how it's framed. It depends on how it's used, right? There's governance, and then there's having to do fundraising. Sometimes they're very, very closely tied, right? VCs are making all the decisions, and then sometimes they're really well separated. Money's just a tool, right? And the source of money can either be a credit or it can be a detriment. So it depends on how it's done. So yeah, Fame MMA not having its best week. It did drop back down after that point, right? Because you sell the sizzle, right? You sell, buy the rumor, you sell the news. It became news this week. So is it doing its best? No, but it is finding support down at that roughly 8-cent mark for the Fame token. So if you've already gotten exposure to it, if you haven't gotten exposure to it, it is available on PancakeSwap. It's all of these tokens. They're all based on the Binance Smart Chain. So that's where you'd have to be. Deadwood saying, yep, 10 set is the boss. Yeah, the 10 set launchpad is pretty amazing. That's why it's pumping up. As a launchpad, it continues to pick a lot of really great winners there. Biggest winner there is, of course, the launchpad itself. So yeah, 10 set has done really well there. But yeah, guys, there's more to it than just that. A lot of launchpads like that. A lot of dexes like that are doing launches and winning big. So that's our portfolio for today, guys. I'm going to call it a show right there. We meandered a lot. We talked about a lot of really great stuff. Let me go back through our comments really fast to see any questions that we have that maybe I missed. Yeah, Everdome, I'm excited about as well. Like what it's saying in the chat. I'm excited about that, especially paired with the Fame MMA token because you have some of these fighters that are going to be playable in this metaverse. It's going to be really cool. As metaverses go, I like having a bit of a tie-in to stuff that's a little bit more either familiar, not necessarily real world, but familiar and intellectual property that is unique and new for the metaverse, as opposed to just being like all the commercial stuff that's going to be dumped onto us, right? Like, it's cool that Gatorade will let you buy and that'll let you buy a drink in the metaverse. That's cool and all, but like, why would I settle for something that I know that I've already experienced in the real world in the metaverse? I want to experience something that's like next level, that takes me outside of my own skin, outside of my own experience. So there you go. But let's see. Questions that we have. I could have swore there was a question. All right. Yep. Opera browser. Yeah, guys, there's a new version of it that's just for crypto, so I'm going to take a look at that. I'm going to do a separate video for that. Not going to do a live walkthrough. I might actually kind of edit that a little bit, make it a little bit less boring. And that does it for our questions, guys. Call it a clean break. Appreciate you being here with me live. Appreciate the support, guys. Thank you so much for growing with the Mind Your Biz channel. We just crossed 17,000 subscribers today, and we just launched the second channel, which is not named Mind Your Biz. Look for that. I'm going to tell you more about it as we have more content ready over there, but I don't think you're going to want to miss it, guys. We're going to be doing some stuff that looks like maximalist content. I promise you it's not. It actually is just starting with some content that is going to help bring in more communities for us to build bridges with. And then we're going to go over general crypto education and DeFi education. It's really, really important. A lot of people, especially now, who've carved off profits from their mining, are going to need to know what to do with it. That DeFi education is going to help them. Appreciate you guys being here all the way to the end. Thanks for hitting that thumbs up. Thanks for sharing the video. You're the reason I make this media. I love your face. Remember to stay private. Mind your biz. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Remember to check out mineyour.biz, where you can sign up for Mind Your Biz Insiders, our occasional newsletter where we don't spam you, but we do send out occasional important information, including flash sales and important deals on privacy-preserving technology. This is one of the ways that we can talk to you without censorship and without the oversight of third-party media platforms. You can also check out the new Mind Your Biz phone, as well as merch, or sign up to become an affiliate for anything sold directly on the mineyour.biz website. You can earn a percentage of anything that we sell. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. You're the reason I make this media. I love your face. Remember to stay private and mind your biz.